thank you. It's hardly fair to show that video right before I have to speak. Oh my God, I've never heard Keaton speak more than a few words in a row, and just like captured my heart. Oh my gosh. And I also want to go back to Ashish's comments of one of my closest friends, a neighbor of ours, Joy Lucas, who I skied with till she was 85, and her husband taught me how to windsurf when he was 84. And when she was 94, we had a conversation because she had lost her son to tuberculosis when he was 6 years old. And I just said, you know, tell me about that this many years later. And she said, there are moments when it strikes me, and it's every bit as painful as the day he died. She said, the depth of pain has never lessened over all of these years. She said, it happens a lot less frequently, and there are times in between when I feel good. And I know what to do when I have those feelings now, but it's taken a long time to do it. So when Cami and Ashish talk about being on a journey, they're on a lifelong journey. And you guys are a really important part of that. One of the things that we sometimes see happen is when a child passes away, friends are there at the moment, and then they step back over the next 6 months. And the fact that you guys are here tonight and willing to be facing us having these conversations really says a lot about who you are and your support for this family. So we are on this journey together to talk to you here tonight. So everything we do in our lab is based on our patient experiences. When I walk into a room each Wednesday at Children's Hospital, I say to myself before I start clinic, what am I going to do today that I don't want to be doing in 20 years? What do I want to make archaic? And which of those things can we change through the work in our lab? And this is a particular case that we took care of, this little girl in 2004. She was actually 17, she was that little. And you can see that there's a tumor over here on the MRI scan. But you can't really tell where the tumor begins and where it ends and what's a normal brain. And right behind the tumor is the motor strip. So if they mess up and take some of that out, she would wake up paralyzed. When you get into the operating room, it's really not any easier. If I gave anybody in this room a scalpel, where would you stop cutting and say, I think I got the tumor, but I think I left the normal brain behind? And in this case, even after a 20-hour surgery by Dr. Ellen Bogan, he left this big piece of cancer behind because he thought with all his best skills and judgment that that was normal brain, and he didn't want to hurt her. And that eventually took her life. And that day we vowed that we would make a molecule that would make cancer light up so that surgeons could see it in the operating room. And after 11 years, I can say that I'm going to show you tonight the data that's the first time ever being seen in public. We're accomplishing that goal. This is one of our early mouse studies. The mouse on the left doesn't have brain cancer, the mouse on the right does. And you can see that this molecule that we call tumor pain, I won't go into the history of it, but it's this little molecule that came from a scorpion, the Israeli death stalker scorpion. We modified it to turn it into a drug and to carry fluorescent light to the cancer. And when you injected the bloodstream of these mice, it lit up the cancers, almost cell by cell. We then went on to see that it worked also in other kinds of cancer, including prostate cancer, breast cancer, and many other types of cancer, which gave me hope that investors would someday put in the hundreds of millions of dollars that were needed to get this all the way through the FDA. We then tested it in dogs. We tested it in 27 dogs that had cancer whose families brought them into WSU's veterinary school, and it lit up the cancers beautifully. Here's an example of a sarcoma. And you can see the cancer, and it doesn't light up the normal tissue at all. In fact, it worked so well with the sarcomas that the veterinary surgeons stopped doing amputations, and they used the tumor paint because they could be sure that they were getting it all out. And all those dogs that did get amputations are still alive and cancer-free 2 years later. This is a dog that has breast cancer, and down here on the bottom right, that's what the surgeons knew was cancer. But because this dog had tumor paint, they also saw that there's cancer here and here and here. And they could have taken this part out and said that the margins were negative. And I think that happens all the time across the whole world, where a woman hears that her breast cancer has been fully removed and the margins are negative, and she goes home feeling secure, and then 6 months later, this thing's growing after CT scans again. I think this is the reason why, and I think tumor paint is going to change that. This is our first breast cancer that we imaged in a mouse, and today I'm going to show you one of our first 2 cases from a woman with breast cancer that was just operated on this week. And on the left, you see what the surgeons see today, and on the right, you see what the surgeons see with tumor pain. And it's stunning. In the first case that we did, the surgeons took it out, and they could see that they didn't have the whole thing. And so while it was being sent down to pathology, they completed the surgery. It's just, you know, it really changes the whole thing. I'm hoping that in 10 years, surgeons say, I can't believe we used to do this with our fingers and our thumbs and our hands. This is an adult patient with a glioblastoma, a brain tumor. And here you can see the brain tumor lighting up in every gyrus of the brain and absolutely guiding the surgeon. So you can see in the area where they already did their surgery that there's no tumor pain left, that they got that part of the tumor out. And we're midway through the operation at this point. Nobody else has seen these pictures. This is the first time they're being shown in public. And this is what the drug looks like. How many of you have a drug that could help you find the toilet? It's really an amazing molecule, and I give credit not only to our Fred Hutch team for inventing this, but for the Blaze Bioscience team for advancing it through the clinical trials. And as I mentioned to some of you tonight, the very first document that the Blaze team submitted to the FDA was 3,400 pages long, filled with hyperlinks, and every one of them worked. So it's that impeccable level of excellence that everybody on our teams represents. This has been covered by a lot of media outlets, but frankly, as we move this technology from my lab out to Blaze, what we started saying is, what can we do next? What can we take the 10 years of experience that we have of working with this little knotted mini protein from nature and take that to the next level as Blaze takes tumor pain to clinical trials? And the first place we directed our attention was to those tumors that can't be entirely removed surgically. This is an example of a brainstem glioma. You can see here that the tumor is right between the brain and the whole rest of the body, so you can take it out surgically without leaving the child entirely separated from the brain, which can't be alive that way. And every time Ori, the nurse over here that is with us tonight, and I see a picture like this in brain tumor board, we know that we have to walk in and talk to a family, meet them for the first time, and tell them that the child's probably not going to be here a year from now, despite what we have to offer. And so we really wanted to embark on an endeavor that I could walk into one of these patients' rooms someday and say, we think we have something that really offers true hope for you. And that's what we've been working on now. Everything I told you about so far comes from this little guy, the Israeli deathstalker scorpion. And now we're working with things like sunflowers and sea slugs. Our lab has found 206,000 drugs in nature that have the same kind of structure as the scorpion molecule, and they make good blueprints for human drugs. And this is some examples of them. I won't go through details, but the potato, how come the potato doesn't get eaten up under the ground? Because it makes these drugs that protects them from bugs eating them up. And we have learned how to adapt these. We overcame these 6 areas that kept pharmaceutical companies from making good progress over the last 23 years. I hired these 2 guys, and in 11 months I solved 5 of the 6 major problems that repeated our work. And to give you an idea of the quality of the team, all of the other scientists in the world had identified about 300 of these molecules. And I just told you that we identified 206,000 of them. Guess how long that took us? A day and a half.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a killer team. It's just absolutely a killer team. So, when I worked on tumor pain, we made about 1 molecule a month. Last month, we made 30,000 molecules. We are just, in the next 2 days, ordering a robot. We don't have the money for it yet, but we're ordering it. And that robot will allow us to make 2,000 molecules a month as individual molecules. It'll be working 24 hours a day while we're home sleeping, making these drug candidates. This is what one of them looks like, the molecular structure of it. And we can change it. You see how we change the red and the blue? That is the charges on the molecule, the shape of the molecule. We can do that all computationally. The guys in the lab just give them my credit card. This guy from FedEx comes and gives us like 10,000 genes, and then we put those genes into a modified HIV virus. This is a virus that can't cause HIV, but can carry the DNA, and we infect human embryonic kidney cells, and then we turn them into factories to make these drugs, and then we purify the drugs. And so we're going after these drugs that are taking the lives of beautiful little kids like this, like Matthew. And we have found targets. This is an example of a really aggressive brain tumor called glioblastoma. And this is what it looks like when it's dividing normally. And this is what it looks like when we hit the target. The cells basically explode, and they can't turn into 2 cells. They turn into 0 cells because they explode when they're trying to divide. A lot of people ask, if you can deliver light to the cancer, why can't you deliver chemotherapy to the cancer? And the answer to that is that the tumor pain molecule also goes to the liver and the spleen. And so we can't put a toxin on it without really damaging our patients. But through one of these fundraisers that we had a few years ago, the Kathy Gertzen Foundation raised $100,000, and we decided to make 100 molecules in her honor to help the Kathy Gertzen Library. And I told the team, let's make each one of those radioactive and just put it in a mouse with cancer and see where it goes. The third one we tried went to cancer. It didn't go to the liver and the spleen, just pure luck. That came from, this is the guy, the grasshopper. And so now we're developing that molecule, making variations of it to identify those molecules that could deliver chemotherapy right to the cancer. So this is the team. This picture is actually only 9 months old. The team has grown from 2 scientists 2.5 years ago to 32 scientists now. So this picture is like, we're growing that fast. And we're not using philanthropy instead of grants. I have more grants than almost anybody at the Fred Hutch Cancer Center, but we're using philanthropy in addition to grants to do this innovative work. And then with some of the money that we get through philanthropy, we can do pilot experiments like the grasshopper experiment. And with those pilot data, we can get $2 million grants and larger from the National Cancer Institute. So that's how we use money from Run of Hope, is to create the first data that allows us to go after these big grants and begin the drug development process. So we really leverage your money beautifully. So far in the last 1.5 years, we've brought in $7.5 million in federal grants using the data from pilot projects funded by unions. So this is our new beautiful lab at the Fred Hutch Cancer Center. They have committed to raising $20 million for this program. Seattle Children's has been our partner in this endeavor since 2000, actually 1998. And Barbara, your team has raised probably cumulatively over $10 million for pediatric brain cancer research. And so this comes from nights like tonight. There are very few 7-figure checks written, very few 6-figure checks written. It's nights like this that fuel in the tank and let us thrive and move forward. I feel very fortunate in this day and age that when I have a need for a brilliant scientist, I can just hire them. When I need a robot, I can buy it. And I know that through our families and friends and community, we'll find a way to pay for it. So thank you. I think that we won't do questions, but I'll be around tonight if anybody wants to ask questions. Sure.
Well, as you can see, Kevin and I are very excited about Dr. Wilson, and not just because he's an amazing guy. We had some personal time with him. Kevin and I had a lot of questions and the what ifs and things like that, post our journey at Children's with Rohan. And we were very impressed with just the time he took to just be with us. Not a scientist talking to us, but just a person, a dad, helping us understand what we went through and things that we could have and couldn't have done. And I think some of the best answers were the most simple answers. And we valued it really well.
I did too.
And Nora loved the time enough that last year she just wanted to take some of the money she had saved up for Christmas, and we were trying to figure out, what we're going to do. Is it going to be vacation money or something or the other? And her thought was, nope, it's going to go to Dr. Jim Olson. And we thought it was like a little kid, just having fun. She just thought of Dr. Olson because first thought she just met him. But she's very serious about that. And so the Run of Hope this year, she was very particular in saying that it has to be Team Nora. Nora's going to be the lead on it because that's the way of participating and doing something tangible in memory of a brother, but also tangible enough that kids can have hope. And her biggest prayer always is that she wishes that Rohan had the hope. Well, he did. It's okay. Weird way, but Kevin and I wish that no other parent has to go through that anymore. Kevin doesn't speak in public too often. I speak a lot, but she wanted to.
I do have some thoughts written down, but before I start, I just wanted to say that last night, both Ashish and I had a very rough night because Nora wasn't feeling well. She started throwing up, and when you have early morning throw-ups, those are very, very bad signs, and they took both Ashish and I down the spiral pathway. And one of the questions I asked her when she after she grew up was, "Nora, do you have a headache?" And her answer to me was, "Mom, I don't have a brain tumor." So it was bittersweet to hear that. Why should a 6-year-old think of a brain tumor? But she did. So I do have some thoughts written down on hope, and I just want to read them out to you. November 3rd is a sacred and special date etched in our minds forever. It is a day when Rohan became an inspiration and a hero. He became a roadmap of how to live, and we will forever be thankful for all the lessons we have learned from our amazing boy. The inspiration, love, and hope is truly what we want the world to be able to take from Rohan's presence here on earth. Our hearts are sad at losing our only son. The pain is constant and so hard to process. But this isn't the story tonight. It is dramatically different. It is one of hope, one of life and living. And his illness should be a rally cry that kids with brain tumor deserve much better. As Rohan battled for those 28 days, he did so with much dignity and resilience that underscores the amazing nature of children with cancer. Heroes truly exist here on earth, and clearly he is one of them. His note cards to family and friends always included the words, "Love, hope, Rohan." Much is to be said about this. We need hope, we need love, and we need to be outraged that we are not providing more research funding and support for pediatric brain tumors. This is a true tragedy and a reason why we are here today. Awareness is ever so critical. Awareness of the plight of children with brain tumors will inevitably provide new opportunities for researchers like Jim and others here to focus on a cure. We will dedicate our work through Pediatric Brain Tumor Research Fund to Rohan and his amazing spirit as we hope for a bright future for those children who remain in the fight. Our prayer is that the families of these children are given the gift of time, peace, and complete healing. There is hope, and there is much inspiration from loss. There is a message of hope in each and every child and family who hears some of the worst words, "Your child has a brain tumor." And there is honor in making everyone aware of these heroes. Our love for our sweet boy is the fuel that will continue to drive our advocacy on behalf of all people, in the hopes that another parent will never have to walk in our shoes. As a testament to Rohan, we choose to walk in hope, to offer the positive, and to embrace the lives we have been given. I think about the evening of hope and the run of hope and get excited. And yet I am reminded that this is only a result of my sweet boy being diagnosed and his loss. This is a platform and a background that both motivates me and yet saddens me. Yet in the end, it does not diminish the resolve to fight and to continue doing so till the cure is found. For love, for hope, for Rohan.
We are thankful for your friendship, and as Jim mentioned, it is valuable to us. We may not express it, but your words of comfort, your questions, you're reminding us of stories of Rohan. You're asking us about him, things he did, asking us about Nora being alone. It is a journey. I guess some of you don't even have a choice, but you are a part of it with us. And we appreciate you guys being with us for that. This evening was just a first step in a new direction. I was just sharing with some good friends today. It feels like a threshold that Kemi and I are crossing, an idea of what we potentially can do to create more awareness. We're excited that you guys are here for our first event. Hopefully, we won't have too many more of it. I don't want to think of it as lifelong thing. I would like to have as less amount of events as possible. But if we do have another one, I hope you guys will join us for that. Thank you for the aggressive bidding at the auction. I do appreciate that. I'm sure it'll take us a little while to just collect all the bids and put it together. We thank you for your participation for that. I know some of my friends are great wine lovers, and I hope you will enjoy the bottles and remember why we did this. And for others who missed out, well, there's always another opportunity. And for those who just who don't like wine for whatever reason, which I don't understand, we would encourage you to just, if you are interested in knowing more about Jim, Jim's here. He's asking questions. He's very open to talk to you about it. It's research specific or general, whatever you want. The other friends here, Aaron's here, and the other friends would be happy to talk to you about that. And if you just feel like writing a check just to PBTRF for that support, go for it. I mean, I would encourage you to do that. I know a lot of our friends here who have amazing giving hearts. So don't feel constrained.
And we take credit cards.
Oh yeah, credit cards too. And I didn't make an exception for some friends. So I will add, I didn't make an exception for some friends. We think I will use too. I know where you live. I know where you live. But yes, thank you. I really appreciate you. And we're still here. Lots of food, lots of wine, and friends. Enjoy the evening. But thank you so much. Really. Well, I've been reminded, I guess we should do the raffle.
Want to buy last
minute runs of raffle?
chance.
I want to buy raffle. Wait, I didn't hear.
So the raffle tickets are $10. They're for the big bottle of champagne.
Yeah.